Continuing our conversation this morning with Senior Counsel Eamon Courtenay. We had the first conversation looking specifically at the recent ruling in the court, and now we're shifting our focus to perhaps the most important international case taking place and the implications in Belize. I want to start off by just getting your perspective in how things have been unfolding so far.
Well, I think it is once again another black eye for the country of Belize. We suffered through the scandal and the nastiness and vulgarity and criminality of the Sanctuary Bay matter, and now we have the Lev Derman matter. So it seems to be, you know, Citizen Kim all over again. It is a coronavirus of the UDP that they have given this country, scandal after scandal. It is interesting, and I think that sometime this week or next week, I don't know when, we will have the testimony of Mr. Kingston, where it is
set for tomorrow, actually.
Well, wonderful. Then we are going to find out whether or not there is any actual evidence in that case against any minister or public official of Belize. But what is outrageous, scandalous, and in dereliction of duty, it is the attitude of the Honorable Michael Perrefit. You heard what he said? He didn't invoke no mutual legal assistance treaty because there's no investigation in Belize.
Let's backtrack before we go to what his response is, which is critical in discussing this matter. What the People's United Party has called for is aggressive action in getting the information. There were suggestions in terms of asking the U.S. Embassy locally. There were suggestions in invoking the Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Act. In other words, having the Belize government actively seek out the information from the courts so that we can have some clarity here. Can you tell us exactly what this act allows for and why it would have been, or whether it would have been helpful in getting the information?
And it still is helpful in getting the information. The Mutual Legal Assistance was a treaty that is signed between Belize and the United States for assistance in criminal matters. And it provides a channel for requests to be made from Belize to the US or from the US to Belize for information, for witnesses, for testimony, for persons, etc., to be exchanged. It's relevant here because it provides that once there is an investigation in Belize, they can make requests to the United States. At the stage of an investigation, usually it would be there's a court case. A court case is on, some relevant evidence is needed from a different country, and then the court would make a request to the other court and say, can you assist me by getting this evidence, transferring it to Belize with all the stamps and seals, etc. But this is a more effective tool. In addition to that, it says even before that, if you're investigating something and I may have evidence or information or documents, I can send it. It is critical to understand that that treaty is in law. The right and the duty of the Attorney General, who is named as the person to make the request, is there in law. It is open to Michael Perrefit right now to make a request to his counterpart and say, send to me the following information.
Are you not confirming what he has essentially said in the public so far, which is there has to be an ongoing investigation to make this request?
Marlene, I wonder why he not done investigation. Here is somebody in sworn evidence saying, we were bribing cabinet members in Belize. And the Attorney General proudly goes on national television and says, we don't got no investigation in Belize. It is rank dereliction of duty for an Attorney General to say to the nation, in the face of criminal allegations at the highest level of government, my government, cool with that, we fine with that, we are not investigating it.
Well, the question has
and
been
I am
put
saying
to the Prime Minister.
I am saying to you, that is unacceptable. I am saying to you, do not focus on the Lev Derman trial only. Listen, Prime Minister says, he sit down in a cabinet and go around the room. You may get any? No. You may get any? No. You may get any? Well.
He was satisfied with that response, Eamon.
Yeah. Why does not the government open an investigation now?
I put that question to him, and his response was flatly, what is there to investigate?
What is there to investigate is the account of everybody in the cabinet. Don't fall for what they're saying. They say that, oh, but this is campaign money.
It may be.
Maybe campaign money. I told you earlier, the election was 2012, 2015. So far, Jacob Kingston said the payments were 2013, 2014. There was no general election in 2013 and 2014. Fool the talk, but I not fool the listen. So there was no campaign contribution, so not come with that. I am saying to you, the Financial Intelligence Unit is able to make an investigation now into the bank accounts of all the members of cabinet. I want to go further. Under the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty, requests can be made, not for no evidence in Lev Derman trial. They're not interested in Belize, they're interested in the 500 million. We want all wire transfers from every account that Lev Derman, Jacob Kingston, and all their associates have related to the following persons, and name everybody in cabinet. We want all telephone records of all phone calls between Lev Derman and his associates and everybody in cabinet. We want all text messages between Lev Derman and his associates and all members of cabinet. I am saying to you, we are being fooled by saying, well, make we wait until we come out in a Lev Derman trial. No, there is an obligation on the authorities of this country to get to the bottom of this.
Well, two things. One, you didn't specifically answer my question as to whether an investigation is locally is necessary to trigger the treaty.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Secondly, who can initiate that investigation? It doesn't require political will. The Attorney General or the FIU can initiate that investigation. Is that the right? Is that the case?
Yes. So can the Commissioner of Police. But the Attorney General has to certify that an investigation exists. Prime Minister say call FIU, right? And
FIU said all clear.
Have you asked the head of FIU whether that is true? Have you asked the head of FIU whether he has actually done an investigation? Look under the FIU Act at the powers that can be used there. Requests can be made by the FIU for information on people's bank accounts. Requests can be made by the FIU for assistance abroad. All of these things can be done. So I am saying to you, Marlene, there is an obligation on the government. Where an allegation of criminal conduct has been made, worse at the highest level, it is not open to the Commissioner of Police to simply say, well, why I say that in the news, I will do nothing. It is not open to the Attorney General, it is not open to Mr. Clare at the FIU to say, but I hear that in the news, I will do nothing. These people have duties, these people have functions, these people have roles to perform, and the law is there for them to do it.
Let's go back a bit. The Caribbean Shores Area representative came to the media last week with the letter that was written to the Prime Minister and the Attorney General asking for them to trigger the MLAT in terms of getting this information. The Attorney General's response was, well, it would be more or less bureaucratic to go through that process of government to government or court to court requesting these documents when Mr. Kingston is set to testify within a week. So it's easier for us to just sit down and wait to hear what he has to say, and if there's anything damning, we go from there. My question is, since it may not necessarily be the express focus of the trial in Utah, very little attention, if any, will be placed on that. However, notwithstanding the period of time during which Kingston is set to testify, can we still proceed to make that request and then go back and deal with the matter as it were?
But that's the point I'm making. I'm in total agreement with you. And don't focus only on what is happening in Utah. Don't focus only on Jan Saldiva. This thing originally started by saying more than one minister,
Yes.
right? All of a sudden, everybody just to
And
focus on
government official,
and
yeah.
government official. Everybody's not just focusing on what is happening in Utah. They are trying to distract us from the corruption that is endemic in the cabinet. And I am saying the answer is yes. An investigation can and should have started by now. The treaty says, read it. It's not a very long document. It says that the requests are to be dealt with expeditiously. So there are no big, long bureaucratic things. And trust me, let us not lose sight of what is happening here. A request was made, depending on who you believe, by Finnegan or Saldiva, for this man to be appointed honorary consul in Las Vegas.
That was subsequently turned down by the US
Hold on,
government.
man. The United States government received the request from Belize, looked into Mr. Kingston, and found that he was not fit and proper.
Mr. Derman.
Sorry, Mr. Derman, that he was not fit and proper. Yes? Which means that there is an adverse finding against him. According to City, notwithstanding that, Saldiva came to him and said, boy, what we could do for this man? Why would Saldiva do that? Natural love and affection? What is it? What is it
What's the
between he and
motive?
Mr. Derman?
Yeah.
Think about it. The US government said, I will not appoint this person, something wrong in him. The Minister of National Security of Belize goes to his cabinet colleague and says, boy, but make we see what we could do. I am saying to you, there is a reason why Mr. Saldiva would have made that request, notwithstanding the fact that the US government had said no.
Now, we've heard quite a bit about the implications of this case from the Attorney General and the Prime Minister at his press conference. And there have been quite a few suggestions already as to if this transfer took place, what would be the implications. There was the suggestion that, well, I don't know if maybe it was for campaign financing.
And there was
that
no
was
general
one.
election.
Secondly, the Attorney General has introduced the issue that Kingston, Jacob Kingston, is taking a plea deal and may just be singing for a better
sentence.
We could dismiss that one
but
time
let me just get through all of them first so we can attack them all. The third is, which you clearly said before, that there's no investigation taking place here. We'd go through all of that, I guess, work, essentially, and the trial is going to play out and we'll find out anyway. I may have missed a couple other outs that may have been suggested so far. So what it says to the public really is that, and that there has to be proof. In fact, the main point made by Honorable Jan Saldiva is there is no evidence that I received money.
Well, there is no evidence if you don't go looking for it. They are saying, I'm not going to do an investigation, and at the same time you say, but there is no proof. I am saying to you, the tools are there for there to be an investigation. Mr. Kingston, they say, is singing for his supper. So what happens when the documentary evidence comes forward? What happens when a text message comes forward?
Well, we did get some reports of the text messages this morning where I don't think anyone should be surprised. They talk in code.
Yes.
They don't explicitly say, I have deposited or I have on me the $25,000 for you.
The eagle has landed. Yes? Let's do a hypothetical. 5th of October, 2013. You think the commissioner of police, you think the director of the FIU, you think the attorney general can put one-on-one together and say, hold on.
It's an inference.
Hold on. The Eagle has landed on the 5th of October 2013. I am now going to have an investigation into the bank account of that person for 1 week before the 5th of October and 1 week after the 5th of October to see whether there is any transfer for an amount approximating 25,000 US from Lev Derman or any of his associates in 2 weeks. So when the Eagle land, we have the basis to go and invoke the treaty and say, send me all the bank transactions for that period.
It is colloquial
I am
language.
saying to you, Isani and Marlene, these guys are sitting around a table and then look by each other and you say, if you say anything about me, I want to talk about you. If you investigate who, no make a start. All of them, nobody wants to talk, nobody wants to do any investigation.
Too much will come out of the closet, is what you're saying.
At the end of the day, it is the country and people of Belize that suffer the endemic, deep-seated corruption. The black eye that Belize suffers as they sit there and play the fool with us and tell us that, well, we are waiting and say this and we want proof on this. Nobody's looking for it. Well, maybe after an election, somebody might be interested in looking for it. Time will tell.
Let's go back a bit. It is, I would want to venture on a limb here to say that it is colloquial language. Most of us, right? When it's payday, right? You say, okay, payday is the 15th or the end. People walk around the office, buy the plane done land. We all know what that means, right? Is the money in the account, right? So by inference, again, going by what you're saying, if you're looking at the text communication versus perhaps the duration or the interim when the monies were deposited or collected, then you could say, well, the bird, or the eagle in this case, is simply a reference to the monies being transacted.
But they tell you that they tell you that they were walking around Belize looking for an eagle and they don't see no eagle.
They were bird watching.
Yes. I mean, that's what they're going to come on TV and tell us.
Well, and I think that is where, if you look at what is unfolding, this weight on actual evidence, illegal activities sometimes are plain-faced. They take place, they have a paper trail, but many times happen with a cash transaction by hand, through a third-party account in another country as well, and perhaps channeled through the borders. So we don't have, and what I'm saying is that there is a very good possibility that there won't be a direct tie, but enough to connect the dots.
And at the end of the day, it is not for the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, or the Cabinet to determine that there is not enough evidence.
The court will be the one to determine.
It is for that file to be compiled, for some prosecutor to stand up in front of a Belizean jury, as you say, and say the eagle has landed or whether it hasn't landed, to show at the same time a statement from somebody's account where there's a deposit of money, and whether a jury, properly directed by a judge, believes that that payment was made to that person. Don't sit in the cabinet room and determine that. It is a matter for the courts of this country to decide whether or not anybody is guilty in those circumstances.
But receiving the money, I mean, we're going back to the whole conversation that's taking place in the US, the quid pro quo. In other words, did I receive money for a particular action or intention that may have taken place?
Then the person has an opportunity to come to court and say, I was routinely being paid 25,000 US dollars because Mr. Derman loved how I look. And say, who won't believe it? No, man, let's get serious.
No, I am being serious. I am being serious. There is this. You work in the court of law. You know exactly how.
Don't lose sight of what has so far been said.
Well, let me get back to what has actually been said.
That notwithstanding the no from the US, the man come to me and said, boss, what we could do? That cause somebody call and say, my brother, I don't
pay so much, right?
Where go I?
Yeah.
Please, man.
The only action so far that has been hinged on proof of receiving the money has been the Prime Minister's commitment to fire that member of cabinet. He said if it's found out that anyone received the $25,000 then they have to be fired because they lied to the people, they lied to the cabinet members, they lied to him. That is the only decisive action that is pending that we have heard thus far.
So that's going to be it?
No, I'm getting your thoughts on it.
There's no charge
There's
to follow or anything of that sort.
I wonder why. Are we afraid of something? Somebody in Channel 5 thief money. Are you firing and just left it there? No call the police.
Yeah.
The government of Belize, the cabinet, allegation is that $25,000 is routinely paid to a member of the cabinet, or at least one. And the Prime Minister said, "Boy, if I find it out, I just not fire the man." And that's that. So he could go, retire at Pine Ridge like Penna, go to Orange Walk like Vega. Are we good with that? Let's get serious, man. Somebody has to be held accountable in a court of law. The points you all are making are valid. Why would this happen on the PUP? Why would this go all the way back? Young people in this country are cynical. Even voters, registered voters, mature people are turned off. Mr. Barrow promised this country one machete. The machete rusty and has never been used. People's faith and confidence in politicians are undermined. When criminality is staring them in the face and they get on television and tell the people, I need proof. When even the blindest of the blind know exactly what happened when somebody said, boy, the eagle land?
That is as straightforward gets.
The truth of the matter is, the Prime Minister ought to resign. The entire cabinet ought to resign. Call the elections. Make the people speak on these issues.
Let me just see if we can summarize some of the points that came out from this, because this is really where we needed the most clarity. The FIU or the Attorney General can initiate an investigation on this matter on their own without the direction, and the Commissioner of Police, without the direction of the Prime Minister.
Yes.
They can, once that investigation has been launched, request information beyond just what is happening with Lev Derman's case and the testimony being submitted by Kingston, account information, text messages,
wire transfers, telephone calls to see that these people are regularly in contact.
They can request that information from the United States through this treaty, and
it is to be produced expeditiously.
Okay.
And we have get the information then and pass it to the appropriate authority, the Director of Public Prosecution, to see whether any law in Belize has been violated. And if it has been violated, the person should be criminally charged.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've gotten quite a bit of clarity on that issue. We do thank you for coming in this morning and having this conversation with us.
My pleasure to be here, anytime.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be cooking up some breadfruit fries, so stay tuned.